So if you want to know my favorite amp sim, L1. Favorite bass tone, L1. Favorite drum tone, L1. Favorite vocal tone, L1. What do I put on my master? 2 instances. Hi there. Do you have bad ideas? You do. Yes, you do. Watching this video is one of them. In this week's video, I'm going to show you how to mix a metal song from start to finish using just Waves L1 limiter. That's right, folks. We're not using any fancy EQs, compressors, none of that stuff. We're just using Waves L1 on literally everything. And what's going to make this even more interesting is I only have guitar and bass DIs for this song. Hey there, Bushka. I'm Bobby Balo, the mixing and mastering engineer at Raytown Productions. If you are new to my channel, this is probably the wrong video to start watching because I normally have pretty legit videos to help home studio owners and bedroom producers make better sounding music without needing to buy more expensive gear or equipment. But that isn't the case in this video because I'm going to teach you how to make your song sound like complete trash. But I'm still going to try my best to make it sound okay. And as a thank you for your time today, I've actually put together something valuable for you. I have a comprehensive guide that has all of my favorite free mixing and mastering plugins. It has compressors, limiters, reverbs, delays, amp sims, basically you name it, it's probably in this guide. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can download your free copy. Just go to the description and follow the link. All right, so let's get into the video today. The track I'm going to work on today is called Pelimera, and this is actually a free portfolio track from Brian Hood. So I'll put a link to where I got these session files, and if you want to use them and mix this song in your portfolio, you can go and just download them. Brian Hood's an amazing mixing and mastering engineer. Awesome dude. Definitely go and support him. So the best thing we can do to get started is to clean up the audio tracks as much as possible. So let's hear what we had to start with since I only can use Waves L1 to mix this song. Great. The guitars are DI, so I'm going to have to make guitar tone using Waves L1. Yeah. So what we need to do is go through these drum tracks. For example, like the tom track, you can see the tom is only hit a few times here. So we need to go through and clean all this up, right? We have all this, all that room noise in there. We need to get rid of all that stuff. So we're going to listen to every single one of these drum tracks and then clean up any of that audio. So we're only going to have the tom in there when it actually is being hit. Okay, so right there is a tom hit. So let's go through, get rid of everything before and after that. And then we're just going to do a quick fade on this. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and do that for all these tracks. I don't think you want to watch me edit out everything that's not a hi-hat here. So the snare drum, there's actually 2 different parts. There's this really fast blast beaty type spot. Let me show you. The snare's going really fast. And then we have these slower parts where the snare's hitting, more regularly. And these are very powerful moments. So I actually duplicated the snare track. So I just copied it, duplicated, and then I muted any of the slower parts on the fast snare track. And then I made like a slower snare track. So we can kind of have a little bit more control over the tone this way. So we're just going to balance that with volume. Kick drum, I didn't do anything to. These tom tracks, I got rid of everything and then put fades in. I was really worried because we have these trigger tracks. I want to show you what a tom trigger sounds like. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I was worried we're going to have to try to mix that using L1, but we do have microphones on the toms as well. Sound a lot better, right? So we're just going to delete these. And this is something you can do as a mixing engineer too. If you have a track and there's all these extra files and tracks that you're not using that might just be clouding up the mix, just get rid of them. There's no rule that says you have to use those if they're in the session. So now what we can do is let's listen to the overhead track, see how the cymbals and toms are panned, and we're going to mimic that in the individual tracks here. Okay, so hi-hats are to the left, so this is drummer perspective. So we'll go to the hi-hat track, throw it to the left. So that means the ride will be to the right. China is center. This China, just going to put a little bit to the right. And then toms, since this is drummer perspective, tom 1 is going to be left and tom 2 is right. So I don't usually like to put toms hard left and hard right. It feels a little unnatural to me, so I bring them in a little bit. Kick drum will stay center, and then we have our snare. Cool. All right, so let's start mixing these drums with just L1. God help us all. This is going to be really difficult. All right. So let's start with this snare. How are we going to make this sound good with L1? I don't know if we can do anything. So I'm just going to increase the volume. And maybe slightly. Yeah, we don't want to limit this any more than what we have, because it's going to bring out too much of the room and it's going to start sounding muddy. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay. Let's go to this other snare, the slower snare. Okay, so this part is a little bit more like jammier. So typically I like to add a little bit more rooms to my snare when we have these slower snare hits. So let's try that. Let's put L1 on there and let's just obliterate it. So actually let's duplicate this. And we're going to have a smashed snare and a regular snare. So by really, really compressing it, what I'm hoping is going to happen is it's going to bring out a little bit of the room. So let's try that. Let's see what we can do. Cool. Yeah, you can kind of hear it there. So let's see when we combine these two, what it sounds like. And let's go really fast. No, let's slow the release down, because what's going to end up happening when we do that is it's going to like swell the room back in. So let me solo this, and that's going to add a little bit of vibe to it. There we go. You can see how we're starting to get a little bit of movement now. All right, let's see if this is going to make this sound better or worse. Sorry about that. My ears just got blowed up. I kind of like that. My concern is that when we start bringing all the other things in, it's going to start getting, there's going to be too much stuff again. But let's leave it like that for right now, but we might come revisit this because I have another idea that we might want to try here shortly. All right, kick drum, what do we got? Oh, all right. Can't do much with that. Let's limit it to the point where we have a little bit more control over the low end. So when I'm going to pull this down, let's listen to that low end. We're going to start losing it, and that's where we'll back off. And we're just adding this for consistency. So there's a lot of low in there. Right here is pretty good. Let's make this release really fast. I want this to act more like a clipper. There we go. So that's going to just give it a little bit of more attack and not sound as mushy, I guess. I really don't know what else. We can't really do a whole lot else with that. So, all right, let's see what these overheads sound like. And I have a feeling with the overheads, we're just going to have to turn them way, way, way down because we're going to try to minimize the amount of noise that's going on. So, yeah, it's really loud. But don't worry, we have L1 that we can put on these overheads just to make them sound amazing. Gosh. Sometimes I wonder why I do this to myself. So I'm going to use L1 on the overheads just to make sure that that snare drum doesn't punch out too far on these slower parts. And And again, fast attack. I want this to act a little bit more aggressively and maintain a little bit of the apparent punch, but not get mushy. Actually, let's slow the release down a little bit. I want it to have a little bit of a vibe here. Cool, something like that. All right, but we definitely need to turn this thing down. So our kick drum is way, way, way too loud. Let's lower that down. And we can bring those overheads down more. I think that's a good spot for right now. Let's go onto this China. What does this thing sound like? All right, that thing is intense. I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm just going to bring that way down in the mix, like minus 12 dB. Actually, probably lower. And I'm going to push it a little bit farther to the right side. Okay, let's see what this ride sounds like. That's also got to go way down, minus 18. That sounds good enough to me. All right, let's see what this China's doing in the middle. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. That's got to go. That's got to go down. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to this drum bus. I'm just going to put a limiter on the bus just so I can control the level a little bit better. So let's bring this up in volume. Let's get this hi-hat, see where this is sitting. It's got to come way down. And let's go to this breakdown part. Hi-hats are still too loud. All right, in this China, I'm actually going to pull it. I'll make it a little bit louder. There we go. Okay, so I want to do one more thing because I feel like the snare is still a little bit noisy. So check this out. I have this crazy idea I want to try. So I'm going to duplicate the snare drum 2 more times. Now, I want to phase invert one of the snares. And what that is going to do is make it so it perfectly cancels out with the other duplicated snare that I just made. Okay, right? We have one snare going up, and I just made the other one going down. Okay, so if we play this back, we shouldn't hear anything. Right? We don't hear anything. Everything is perfectly canceled out. What I'm going to try to do is phase cancel out all of the room ambience in this track and just keep the transient of the snare. How do we do that? We have to just modify the transient of the snare on one of the tracks, the non-inverted track. Okay, so we want to reduce the transient. We can do that with L1. So if we reduce the peak of the phase inverted track, then the difference between the amount of attenuation we do with the limiter is going to be the only remaining information in the audio. So that might be a little confusing, but let me show you what I mean. So we should be able to adjust this release to shape the transient. So this basically acts as like a noise gate knob now. So if we slow this release down, that means that's going to let more of that transient through and before it goes back to normal and cancels out completely. So in theory, if this works right, this should be a really awesome noise gate. So let's see what happens. Okay, so everything's perfectly canceled. See, that's the difference between the two tracks. That little tick, that is the sound of that transient being modified. So with longer release, we should be able to get more and more of that transient. Oh, look at that. There you go, homemade noise gate with L1. That is so cool. All right, so that now we have essentially, if you pull up the drums, now we have super dry punchy snare that we can add to our signal. This is awesome. So we can just increase this. Now you do need to increase this the same amount equally, otherwise you're going to lose your phase cancellation. Cool. There we go. Now we have a nice attack on that snare. Cool. We are on our way. All right, let's listen to our drum bus because I might also throw a limiter on the drum bus. We'll see though. You know what? On that kick drum, let's do the same trick we did with the snare. So let's duplicate it. We'll invert the phase of this one. And we're going to adjust the threshold. And let's clean this up so it just has a lot of punch. Hear how much it tightened it up? I might start actually doing this trick. Cool. All right. I think those drums are sounding pretty good. I don't really see the need for another limiter on there. It's just getting crazy. Let's try to make the bass sound cool with an L1. All right. So here we go. We have this. For metal, that's not going to do it. I don't know if you're aware that that could be a problem, but it's going to be a problem. So let's duplicate the bass, and we're going to split our bass by smashing the hell out of one with an L1. And then we'll save the other one and try to keep it clean so that the low energy stays pristine and full. So then we'll have like a buzzy, distorted. It's probably going to sound like a fuzz pedal. And we'll just blend the two, and hopefully we'll be able to get like a pretty cool tone out of it. But knowing L1, it's just going to add, a lot of really awesome analog warmth or something. What I think we want to do is make the release super fast again. That's going to give it like a clipping, aggressive buzz type sound to it. And then I'm just going to hammer down on it. Let's see what this does. It's really not even doing a whole lot. So let's hit it with the second stage of L1. Can't believe there's stages of L1. Okay, we're getting there. Let's do it again. Do like another 20 dB of gain. Hey, we're getting somewhere. Let's do another one. All right, but this one, I'm actually going to slow the release down. I want this to kind of make it a little bit vibey, kind of glue it all together. That sounds pretty cool to me. Okay, so we have our gritty bass figured out. Let's try to make a clean bass now. So we'll just use probably one L1 on this guy. So I'm basically just finding the point where it's just biting into the meat of the track. And then no, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that. We want to pin the low energy, okay? We don't want it to be wiggly and moving around. But I don't want to hear distortion on this one, okay? So we're gonna bite into it a little bit, and let's do a slower release. That's gonna take a little bit of that edge and distortion away. Yeah. All right, so now let's just adjust the balance of these two and see if we can get a cool bass tone out of it. Let's hear it with the drums. It might be the worst thing I've ever heard, but it's better than it was before. All right, I think we just need to turn everything down. I don't think anybody would want to hear that. So let's glue it together with the L1 on the bass bus. Again, slower release. I mean, I have like 3 parameters to choose from, right? So it's either going to be I'm going to have fast or slow release, and then how much threshold. I just realized I'm making a guitar tone with L1. It's going to sound so bad. Oh well. All right, let's see what we can do here. We're gonna do the exact same approach. Let's just get the release really fast. That's gonna introduce a lot of harmonic distortion. Bite into the track as hard as we can. Let's do this like at least 3 times. I don't know if that's gonna be enough for distortion, but we're gonna try it out. And then I'm gonna bring this down to like -15. Here we go. How's that guitar tone? Let's try another one. Let's see if this will make it even better. Okay. I'll take that, I guess. Yeah, we want it as fast as possible. We want it as gritty as we can get it. Let's just, you know what? I'm lazy. I'm literally just going to copy and paste that over. Now we have the most brutal guitar tone of all time. We just need to pan these bad boys now. So let's do guitar 1 left and guitar 2 right. Hell yeah. Okay, let's hear it with the bass. Okay, let's hear it before we had all that crap. It sounds more metal now. We're going in the right direction, I guess. Let's do the vocals. It's going to be the exact same strategy here. I'm going to put 2 limiters. The first one is going to be super fast attack. It's going to help grind up the vocalist. Metal vocals always, can benefit from a little bit more saturation on their on the voice. So doing it this way is going to definitely bring out the saturation. Second one is going to be slower release. Again, we just want to smooth out the distortion that we're getting. Oh, cool. Okay. Well. You can hear using a limiter to do this is not the best tool because listen how loud the breaths are. The breaths are as loud as the screams. It's actually louder. The only way to fix that at this point is to edit the vocal. So we would have to come in here and literally just remove all the breaths like that. But I don't want to do that. They actually have a plugin that'll de-breath vocals for you. It's by Waves. I'll put a link to it in the description. But I have to use L1. I can't use Waves de-breather or whatever the plugin is. But this sounds okay. I'm going to go a little bit lighter on it because it's starting to bring out too much room, and I'm really worried about there being too much stuff in the way. But basically, vocals are done. That's all we had to do. 808 sub drop here. I'm just going to turn it down. And what's this drum effects thing? I don't know what this is. It's this little guy. Ooh. It's a swoosh. So let's just turn that up. I think we're done, except for the master. But let's hear what we're working with now. All right, so it would sound way cooler if our overheads were up louder. And if we had a louder snare. We need more kick. Vocals sound pretty good, though. Can't hate on me there. Well, I guess you could. It's the internet. Everybody has an opinion in the internet. I kind of dig it. Let's go and master this. Guess what I'm going to use on the master bus? L1, you got it right. I like to do this in 2 stages. The first one is going to be clipping. So we're going to just make the release really fast. Second limiter we're going to use to give it a little bit of vibe and movement. So let's start with the clipper. All right, now let's give it some vibe. Let's figure out what's the tempo of this song. I'm going to do a little trick where I time the release of the limiter to the beat. So let's listen to it. Maybe it's like 141, but maybe that's just a breakdown tempo. I don't know, but let's just do it to that. So I have this cheat sheet that converts the tempo to milliseconds, so we can just put it in on the release. So 8th note at 141 is 212.7. 212.7. There you have it. That is the best I think I can do with this song using only Waves L1 limiter. Let's see how loud we got it. So we're looking down here. Oh, hell yeah. I can tell you right now that it's pumping too much for me, for my liking. Let's just put on auto release and make this fast. What I'm going to do now, though, is bounce this down. We're going to compare this song, this mixed version of the song, to the original raws, and then we'll also compare it to Brian Hood's mix where he got to use every plugin, not just L1. So stay tuned. Coming right back at you. Here are the final results. I'm not really excited about it. Here are the raw multis that we got. This is what came in. The only thing that I kept on this is the panning. So let's take a listen to how brutal this sounds completely raw. So these are all normalized too, by the way. Doesn't sound good at all. It shouldn't. It's DIs and drums and nothing is edited or mixed. So here is the L1 mix. Here we go. You know what's really sad is I bet this sounds better than the first song I ever mixed myself. I'm actually surprised. Like, those guitars really kind of filled out and got nice and wide. The snare's not too like annoying. It has a little bit of punch to it. I mean, that guitar tone has so much analog warmth to it. All right, here's Brian Hood's mix. Yeah, but he cheated. So we both started here, and this is where we ended up. But you know what's kind of weird is I feel like my L1 mix might actually be wider sounding than Brian's final mix. And I don't know why, but I want to know what you think. Do you think the L1 mix sounds wider? I will say this breakdown of my L1 mix is pretty underwhelming, but what are you going to do? So I really hope that some of the strategies that I used in this video, like turning L1 into a noise gate and then also using the release to act more like a clipper or more of a smooth compressor, you know, inspires you next time you have to work on your music. As a reminder, don't forget to grab your free copy of my favorite free mixing and mastering plugins in the description. And if you enjoyed watching this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up because that tells YouTube that this video is actually enjoyable and it's going to show it to more people. If you'd like to show me some love and support me, the easiest thing you can do is just share this video with some friends or to some online communities like Reddit and Facebook. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and attention today, and I hope to see you in another video.